My twin sister, Crystal, was dead set on sticking with her loser boyfriend, so she secretly changed her college application to a community college. I tried to talk her out of it, but when that didn't work, I told my parents and managed to stop her. But get this, a month into the semester, her low-life boyfriend cheated on her. Crystal left a suicide note, blaming everything on the distance. She said if she'd gone to that community college, her boyfriend wouldn't have cheated. My parents were devastated. They took all their anger and grief out on me. You little bitch. It's all your fault. What business is it of yours which school your sister wanted to go to? We could have supported her even if she didn't go to school. We don't need your big mouth. If you hadn't been such a busybody, your sister wouldn't be dead. We must have really pissed off God in a past life to have a daughter like you. My parents locked me in the room where Crystal's memorial tablet was kept, and made me kneel and repent. They packed up her ashes and went on a road trip. Said they wanted to show Crystal all the beautiful places she never got to see. A month later, my parents came back from their trip. I'd starved to death in front of Crystal's memorial tablet, a dried-up corpse. My parents didn't show a shred of grief or guilt, just a dismissive sneer. It was like, in their eyes, my death was exactly what I deserved. My broken spirit saw their cold faces, and tears of despair burned my eyes. Crystal's familiar voice echoed in my head again. Why do you even care what school I applied to? You're just jealous that I have a boyfriend. What? I gasped, staring at the college application page on the computer screen. Crystal was filling it out. I was back. Remembering my parents' coldness in my previous life, I decided that this time, I'd only look out for myself. I was going to make something of myself, so I could ditch this crazy family as soon as possible. I gave Crystal a cold stare. Do whatever you want. I couldn't care less. Crystal happily skipped off to that community college in bumfuck Iowa with her boyfriend. I got accepted into one of the top 10 universities in the country, Chadwick University. I thought that this time, I could finally live a normal life, but no. A month into the semester, Crystal's scumbag boyfriend still cheated on her. Crystal skipped class and ran home crying her eyes out. My parents, who'd been pissed about Crystal going to community college, instantly forgave her when they saw how miserable she was. Mom, Dad, I regret it. I could have gone to a real university. What am I going to do? I don't want to be stuck at that community college forever. And everyone knows about Simon cheating on me. It's so embarrassing. My parents teared up, too. Well, you don't have to go anymore. How about you come back home and take a year off? Crystal shook her head like crazy. High school was hell. I don't want to go through that again. What am I going to do, Mom and Dad? I want to go to a good school, too. My parents exchanged a look and called me home that night. Ashley, you and Crystal are going to switch schools. You're going to Crystal's school tomorrow, and from now on, you are Crystal. I stared at them, my jaw on the floor. Mom, Dad, do you even know what you're saying? Aside from the fact that they took my fingerprints when I enrolled, so she can't pretend to be me. Even if it was possible, why should I give her my university? Crystal sniffled and looked at me. Isn't it partly your fault that I went to that community college? You knew I wasn't thinking straight, but you didn't stop me. You didn't tell Mom and Dad. You did it on purpose, didn't you? You wanted to see me fail. You wanted me to be miserable. My parents looked at each other, suddenly enlightened. I knew there was something fishy. Crystal is always so sensible. Why would she do something so stupid? It's all your fault. Why are you so evil? You're hurting your own sister? How messed up is that? Last time, I tried to stop her, and the whole family blamed me. This time, I let her do what she wanted, and the whole family still blamed me. Was my only purpose in this family to be the scapegoat? I grabbed my suitcase and turned to leave, but my dad grabbed my arm. Where do you think you're going? I didn't say you could leave. I'm telling you, this is how it's going to be. You and Crystal are switching schools. Why? Why? Because you screwed Crystal over. If you just butted out, she wouldn't have made such a dumb decision to go to a shit college. I scoffed. Even if she hadn't gone to that community college, her grades would have only gotten her into a second-rate university. Why should I trade my top-tier school for that? My dad said coldly, you ruined Crystal's life. You think this is too much to ask? We should have just made you drop out and be Crystal's slave. You've always been like this, ugly inside and out. Nothing like Crystal, who is beautiful inside and out. Just consider this a lesson for you. If I'm so ugly, and Crystal is so beautiful, how is Crystal going to pretend to be me at school? Wouldn't people be able to tell right away? My parents were speechless. Crystal and I were identical twins, so we'd looked exactly alike our whole lives. People had mistaken us for each other countless times, but my parents always said I was ugly and Crystal was pretty. Now, my parents' faces turned red and then white. Your mother and I can tell you're ugly because we're your parents. Outsiders can't tell the difference. Stop talking back. You have to switch schools with Crystal. Crystal spoke up. Mom and Dad, what Ashley said earlier isn't unreasonable. What if they check fingerprints during exams or something? My parents looked at Crystal anxiously. What's wrong, Crystal? Are you saying you don't want to switch? Crystal smiled. Of course not. I just think we need to find a solution. Mom, I heard you can destroy fingerprints with sulfuric acid. Why don't we try it on Ashley? Sulfuric acid. I stared at them in horror, shaking my head like crazy and turned to run, but it was no use. My dad held me down while my mom went to the bathroom and grabbed a small bottle of sulfuric acid she used to clean the toilet. She dipped a cotton swab into the acid and cruelly smeared it on my fingertips. The sulfuric acid made a hissing sound on my skin, and the intense pain made my body convulse. I screamed until my throat was raw, looking at my burned fingertips. My mom nodded in satisfaction. Then, she looked at Crystal with concern. Burning fingerprints with sulfuric acid is very painful. I don't think you can handle it. Let's try another method, okay? My parents locked me in the house and took Crystal to the hospital for skin regeneration treatment. Look, Ashley, my fingers aren't burned at all. and it doesn't hurt at all. You, look at your fingers. They're all burned and nasty, so disgusting. Crystal gloated as soon as she got home. I ignored her taunts. My mind was on something else. College was the start of a new chapter in my life, and I couldn't let myself start it at that community college. I looked at my parents pleadingly. Mom and Dad, if you really want Crystal to take my place at school, then please let me take a year off to study. I'm not afraid of hard work. I can take the entrance exam again next year. Before I could finish, my parents cut me off. Do you know how much money it costs to erase Crystal's fingerprints? Take another year off. Do you think that's free? You're such an airhead. I'm telling you, either you find a job or you go to Crystal's community college. Choose. A wave of despair washed over me. While they were asleep, I sneaked back to my school. The next day, my parents showed up at my classroom door with Crystal. They didn't care that the counselor was holding a class meeting. They rushed in and grabbed me. Crystal, you're so shameless, trying to pretend to be your sister. You're not good enough to get into a good university, so you're trying to steal your sister's. How dare you? Get back to your community college. Every word they said was ridiculous. Crystal was standing there listening. Didn't she feel guilty? Didn't she feel like they were scolding her indirectly? But no, she just looked smug. The counselor and students were stunned. My parents pointed at me and shouted, "She's not Ashley, she's my younger daughter, Crystal." She coveted Ashley's good school and tried to pretend to be Ashley. All eyes were on me. I shook my head, tears in my eyes. I didn't. Everyone, believe me, I am Ashley. My parents want me to switch schools with my twin sister. I didn't agree, so they're trying to force me. My dad stepped forward and slapped me hard across the face. You're lying. Stop trying to weasel your way out of this. You're my daughter. Of course I can tell the difference between you two. The counselor understood what was happening and said calmly, everyone had their fingerprints scanned on the first day of school, and they were matched with the entrance exam records before they were admitted. So the Ashley back then must have been the real Ashley. You two should get your fingerprints scanned again, and the truth will come out. Crystal's eyes welled up with tears. Teacher, they can't be scanned anymore. Crystal wanted to steal my school, so she deliberately destroyed my fingerprints and hers. Now neither of us have fingerprints. The counselor frowned and looked at Crystal and me. My parents stepped forward and grabbed the counselor's hand. Teacher, as parents, would we not be able to recognize our own child? The person sitting in that seat is an imposter. It's Crystal. The one standing next to us is Ashley. The counselor's expression changed slightly. The students nodded in agreement. Since her parents said so, the person who was taking classes with us must be the imposter. She's so confident. She must have a really strong mentality. What mentality? She's just shameless. If we had such thick skin, we could do anything. Crystal walked up to me with a smug look on her face. Aren't you going to go back to your community college? My parents grabbed me and dragged me out of my seat without saying a word. The students around me looked at me with disdain. No one trusted me or tried to help me. The counselor called security, and I was thrown out of the school like a dog, with nowhere to go. I had to go to Crystal's community college. As soon as I entered the school gate, I felt the strange gazes of the people around me. It turned out that the private photos Crystal and Simon took together had been uploaded to the school forum. In the photos, Crystal and Simon were doing all kinds of things. She didn't look like a student at all, but more like a cheap hooker, and everything that had happened at my school had been filmed and posted online by a student. Crystal's reputation was ruined, but now, I was Crystal. Everyone's contempt, scorn, and anger were directed at me. Crystal is so shameless. How could she take those kinds of pictures at such a young age? She is nasty. She must have some kind of STD. I knew it. I could smell the stench coming from her. Have you seen the hot search? She even went to her sister's school and tried to pretend to be her sister, trying to force her sister to trade her good school for her community college. OMG. How could anyone be so disgusting? My roommates went to the teacher and asked to switch dorms. My classmates avoided me as if I was a walking virus. The counselor was also annoyed with me because of the trouble I had caused. The school was going to focus on training you because you got a decent score, but you did all kinds of crazy things and embarrassed yourself at another school. Now the whole school can't find someone who wants to share a dorm with you. What are we going to do? You're such a troublemaker. For I understood her anger. After thinking for a moment, I said, then I won't live in the dorm. You won't live in the dorm? So you can have even more fun outside? I smiled bitterly. The snack shop outside the school is hiring part-time workers. I can work there and ask the boss to let me live in the kitchen. Don't worry, I won't mess around. If you don't believe me, you can check on me via video call at any time. I turned to leave, but the counselor softened. You'd better report those photos on the forum to the police. Otherwise they'll stay up there and it won't be good for you. I shook my head with a smile. No need. Just let them stay there. Anyway, it wasn't me in the photos. One day, I would prove it. Whenever I didn't have class, I worked at the snack shop. At night, I slept in the hot kitchen, my body covered in sticky sweat. The narrow wooden bed made it difficult to even turn over. The boss's wife felt sorry for me, so she gave me a little more.